Okay. Okay, I see people are signing on still, but we'll get started. First of all, thank you everyone for joining us. And Yoel, it's great to see you. It's great to be in touch with you over this week. Just a little inside joke, Yoel. We recently just repainted the social hall. And I remember that Yoel told me when I first came here 18 years ago that there was a grease stain on the top of the social hall. And he told me, did you know that gefilte fish can fly? And it ended up, is that right, Yoel? Something like that.
That is true.
It has been, it's no longer, it's been redone. So there's no evidence of it. Just testimony from those who were around to hear the story. But it's wonderful to have you here. And it's wonderful for us to hear what you have to say, for us here in Hollywood who are so connected to you and Chayalim, those of whom we are related to through family, and those whom we are related to as Achenu Kol Beit Yisrael. The opportunity now, 7 weeks into war, and to be able to begin to hear eyewitness testimonies of what's been happening, what was, what is, maybe a little bit of what might be, is something that we very much appreciate. You taking the time in the middle of the night, 1 o'clock in the morning, your time, and it's very special for us to be able to hear it from Hollywood's own. And we know that we bear a responsibility upon listening and hearing what you have to say to hear it and to remember it and to act upon it in whatever ways we can in the days and weeks and months going forward. So thank you again. There's about 45 of us on now and people continuing to sign on. It's really a testament to you and how beloved you and your family are, as well as Chayalim in general and Am Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael is to our community. Thank you for bringing this, for agreeing to do this and offering to do this. Is very special for us. Yoel.
Thank you so much, Rabbi. So first of all, everyone, you could feel free to turn on your cameras. Would love to see your faces. Haven't seen you guys in a while. Definitely the first thing that I want to say, I have so much to say. I'll try to get this in some kind of order. But feel free to interrupt me, to ask any questions, to join in the conversation. I will try to tell the story from my story, as you know, as well as represent the other Chaylim, including my little brother, who's currently up north, Eli Janae, who's currently in Gaza. I mean, Rabbi Weinstock, you have, I'm sure, the whole list of Chayalim from our shul. How many do we have?
I would say the list was of relatives. There was well over 130. That's not first degree relatives, but children, siblings-in-law, all of those. The list was about 130. Last time I checked.
All right. So that being said, the first thing I want to say is kol hakavod, really, to everyone. And oftentimes, the word gibor has been thrown around a lot recently. I hear that word all the time. And the number one thing, and the first thing that I want to start off by saying before I get into, what happened on October 7th, is that really, I'm looking at the names here, seeing the faces here, and everyone here should honestly feel like they're a true Gibor, Gibor Yisrael. And the amount, it doesn't matter if you're contributing just by reaching out to Chayalim, if you're contributing by donating to Chayalim, making sure that they have the tziyud, the equipment that they need. Everyone every Jewish person, all of Am Yisrael is a part of this. We're all one cohesive unit, and that's the most important thing. And everyone has been absolutely incredible, especially from the Young Israel of Hollywood. Everyone who I see here, I can only see parts of you guys. I don't want to, call out specific names, but I'm looking at some names of people who have been in touch daily and people who have sent tremendous amounts of equipment and money, and I can never thank you guys enough. People who have davened for us, who have um, learned Torah for us. Everything is absolutely incredible. And I mean, I was going to save this for the second part, but I'll start out with this: is that the number one thing that I've seen come out of everything that's happened since October 7th is the Jewish people become one cohesive unit. Everyone knows somebody. It used to be that just in Israel, I feel that it used to be just here that, somebody, everyone knew somebody or had a relative who was affected by war, whether it was the Second Lebanon War, whether it was Tzuk or, whatever. Nowadays, it's in this war, especially, it's hit Hollywood, it's hit all of America, it's hit all of Am Yisrael. So everyone I know in their own way has contributed, and everyone feels the pain. Um, I'm gonna do the best I can to explain my story, and we'll take it from there. Again, feel free to interrupt. Feel free to ask questions and everything. So we'll start with October 7th. On October 7th, I woke up here in this apartment. I'm going to be back in the army with my unit on Wednesday. Um, we're meant to go into Gaza. Well, we have been meant to go into Gaza for the last 2 weeks. That hasn't happened yet, so we'll see what happens. But we are scheduled to go in. But on October 7th, I remember waking up here in this apartment with my wife. It was Simchat Torah, it was Shabbat, and the sirens just started going off. And it's typical Israel, figured a rocket from Gaza, and then they just kept going off and off and off. And then I remember walking to shul with my wife to celebrate Simchat Torah, and trying not to get emotional. Um, but you start hearing rumors, and you start. I remember walking across the street, and I saw a woman. A lot of people were here from America, because it was Sukkot, and I saw a woman across the street wearing a Ramaz shirt, and she wasn't religious, and she was on her phone. And I asked her, what's going on, and she told me that she said the number 5,000, but she said that 5,000 Hamas terrorists had infiltrated into Israel. And I thought, no chance. And she started telling me all these things, and my wife and I kind of, walked on. We went to shul. The sirens kept going off. I'm sure many of you were here in Israel at the time, and I figured, it's part of living in Israel. And at the end of shul, I remember I wasn't going to go home and check my phone, but the rabbi of the shul announced that anyone who does miluim, or has anything to do with the army, especially combat, should go and they should check their phones on Shabbat, on Simchat Torah. And I thought there was zero chance that I would get called. I'm in the paratroopers currently, so it's Tzanchanim. I'm not sure that I'm allowed to say the unit that I'm in within Tzanchanim, but it's all the same. Um, and I went home after shul. Before my parents were actually here at the time. My wife and I were going to eat by my parents, and I opened up my phone and I had a missed call on WhatsApp from my Katsin, from my officer. And right away, I was like, okay, that's not a good sign. If we're getting called up, then that's definitely not a good sign. But then I remember we got to my parents' house, and I looked at my phone again, and my Mempe, who's the company commander, had written something that basically said, it looks like everything's calm. We're not going to get called up, and that's it. And during the meal, my cousins were there, and my cousin, who's in a similar unit that I am, he got a phone call and he had to leave. And that's when things started getting real. I'll never forget. I said bye to my parents, and I'm walking, and my parents live near Emek Rafaim, and we were probably in the middle of Emek, and my phone just starts buzzing like crazy, and I get it Tzav Shmone. Tzav Shmone is what you get in times of emergency only. It's when they need you from Miluim, you have to get to base right away. So I ran back to my parents. I said bye to them, and at that point, I was actually my wife, I believe, is on this call, but we were actually supposed to go on our honeymoon for the second time. It got pushed off the first time due to a wedding, but we were supposed to go on our honeymoon the next day. And I remember telling her that, "Don't worry, I'll be home tomorrow. I'll be home on time for our honeymoon." And I took the car on Shabbat. And I remember also when I was walking on Emek, just seeing Chayalim, people dressed in uniform, driving on Shabbat to bases. And I got in the car. Um, I remember driving to base, and I remember thinking, whatever, I'll be there for a day. It's not that big of a deal. At that point, we had no idea what was going on. Um, so that night, we got the base. Every time I've been doing Miluim now for 10 years, and I served in the Army for 2.5 years, and then I drafted in November 2012. So now, yeah, I finished in 2015. It's almost been 10 years it's been more like 8 years of doing Miluim after my actual Army service, total of about 10 years of Army service. And every time I went to Miluim, they told us that they had these garages, and we always used to see the garages that would be open in times of war. And I got there, and there were just cars parked everywhere and a long line to get into base. And we share a base with actually, I can't say the unit's name, but it's actually Eli Janet's unit. And the garages were open. So at that point, I knew that it was serious. I knew that it was war, but still, Shabbat had just ended. Tried not to look at my phone too much and didn't really know what was going on. Until I would say about 24 hours later. 24 hours later, I definitely experienced the worst 30 hours of my life. So, as you guys know, I don't know if they explain what happened on October 7th. I'm sure everyone knows what happened on that day. But the way it works in the Army is certain units do certain things, and there's rotations, and certain units can only be in for a certain amount of time. And Duv Devan and Maglan were in Kfar Aza for X amount of time, and for 24 hours, and they needed somebody to switch them. To be honest, I did not know what Kfar Aza was at the time. I just, I figured it must be someplace next to Aza, but I found out that we're going to Kfar Aza. And when I got there, the Magad said, we're going in there. Yeah, you might see Jews in there. You might see terrorists in there, and it's giving us, a little, is basically more or less what to expect. The Modin spoke to us also beforehand, and that's when it's really got serious.
So it just said something here, but how come I can't get it again? It said you're muted.
Yeah, you're good. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So anyways, the Modin had prepared us. We were sitting outside of Kfar Aza, and the Modin told us that basically the reason why we're here is because there were still Hamas terrorists within Kfar Aza, and Duvdevan and Maglan had to be switched out. Zaka, who is the unit that goes and cleans up the dead bodies, um, they could not go in because there was still living Hamas terrorists inside. So I remember walking into Kfar Aza, and the first house that we got to, well, first of all, as we're walking in, we see just crash cars. And I mean, all you guys are from Florida. I grew up in Florida. We've seen hurricanes. This was picture a hurricane with a tornado at the same time. Just the place was absolutely a wreck, destroyed. And then you start seeing dead bodies and literally everywhere. And as I explained, the reason they sent us in is because Zaka, who cleans up the dead bodies, couldn't go and clean them up because Hamas was inside there. And as I also explained, the Modin had told us at the time.
I'm unmuted. It's not.
Sorry?
You do have a sound here, don't you? You have sound out of this.
Of course I am.
There we go. Go ahead.
So the Modin had told us at the time. Sorry, 1 second. Oh, I'm sorry. I just got a question. What do Devon Maglan are? They're special units, special forces of the IDF, specifically in Tzanchanim, of the paratroopers, so of my unit. So anyways, the Modin had told us that some Hamas terrorists may be wearing IDF uniforms, and that definitely was one of the most scary parts, because there were other units in there as well, and you don't know who's who. You're walking around in there, and our job was to take over one block. Each machlaka was given a different tafkid, a different job, and it was to do sreika in each of the houses. Sreika meaning to go into each house, make sure there's no Hamas terrorists. If there's any Jews inside that are living, to save them and to get them out of there.
System built-in audio.
And that was our job. So we're walking in there. Sorry, I just keep getting distracted over here. But when we were walking in there, I mean, I mentioned what we saw. I don't want to go too much into detail, but the first house that we went to, I remember I stayed outside. I'm, one of the older ones now in Miluim. I'm 32 years old. My unit, my machlaka specifically, is a mix of, there's some people over 30, and then, between 30 and 35. And then there's a bunch of people like my little brother's age, 22, 23. And they like the action more. So, I choose these days to stay kind of, behind. And I stayed outside the house, and my officer, together with his Sembed, with his partner, everyone who's texting me, guys got to stop. It's a distraction, but you guys know who you are. So we get to the first house, and there is 2 Hamas terrorists inside. I'm putting my phone on airplane mode so that this stops happening. And luckily, the 2 Hamas terrorists who were inside, I'm sure you guys I'm sure all you guys have seen the videos, watched the news, everything that was going on. I don't know exactly what, you know, there's certain things that I'm allowed to say, certain things that I'm not allowed to say. But I don't know if they were on drugs. I don't know if they were tired. I don't know exactly what, but for some reason they didn't shoot at us. And my officer and his Semed, the guy right next to him, killed them. And I remember the moment that happened. That was the first house we walked into. So the moment that happened, the guy next to me looked over at me and he said, "If there's 2 terrorists in the first house, then there must be at least 100 left in here." And we had to take over the whole block. I'm thinking of my old block, 40th Avenue. Now we're on 46th Avenue, but it was kind of like that. It's a very nice neighborhood, Kfar Aza, and it's a long block. And we had to get into each house and look inside each house. And with each house, you have to be careful. And you're worried about snipers on the roof. And you're making sure when you're walking in that you're walking with, I don't know how to say it in English, but, with big gaps between the soldiers, just in case somebody drops a grenade or starts shooting. You don't know who's who. It's literally a balagan. And the day before was even more of a balagan, as you guys, I'm sure, are aware. But we won't get into that stuff. Anyways, we were there for 30 hours, and it was definitely the worst 30 hours I've ever experienced. Walking through there, seeing what the place looked like, a Jewish neighborhood. Unfortunately, after take down a terrorist, neutralize a terrorist, you have to throw in rimonim, grenades, to blow up the house, just in case they might have a suicide vest on. So we had to do that in a Jewish neighborhood. This is something that we've never experienced before in the history of Sahel. Having to really fight and destroy our own homes. And they kept us there overnight because we didn't finish the job, and because we had to watch the gate. There's basically, in Kfar Aza, there's a gate, and there was 3 pritzot within the gate, meaning there was 3 openings, and our job was to watch one pritza, another machlaka, and a third to watch another.
Grandma.
Anyways, so we basically took turns every 3 hours, a different Semed watched the gate, and that's the scariest thing ever. Just hoping that a car doesn't drive in, because if a car drives in, it's coming straight from Gaza. You're hearing gunshots all night long. You're hearing the Air Force come and drop bombs. Every time that happens, I'm sure you guys all have these, the glass sliding doors. They happen to have them in this house that we were in, and the whole place shakes. It's something that you guys could ask me questions about it afterwards. I don't know what details to talk about, which ones not to. And it's, you guys have all seen the videos. So moving on from that day, we then were sent up north to be on Konenut, to be ready in case Hezbollah attacked. That's currently where my little brother is. He's his job, I'm actually not allowed to explain his job. There's a lot of things that I'm, like I said, allowed to say, not allowed to say. But everyone in Sahel has a different job. Everyone in Sahel has been really, roughing it out. It's been very difficult. That first 3.5 weeks, I told my wife I'll be home the next day. I didn't come home for 3.5 weeks to a month. And I didn't know when I was going to go home, I remember. And now I don't know. Nobody knows when this is going to be over, and I'm in Miluim. I'm not even back in the regular army. It feels like being back in the regular army. It's definitely difficult, but I'm very proud to be here. And you guys should all be very proud also for all that you've contributed. But the next thing I wanted to actually speak about, which I actually kind of went backwards here, was I wanted to start out with the hard part and then get to the nice part. I'll just touch on it one more time, and then we'll just open up the floor real quick, and then David wants to speak. But the number one thing, like I said earlier, that I noticed from the beginning is, look, this country, as you guys all know, just on Yom Kippur, there was fights over mechitzot being up in Tel Aviv, and all this stuff going on in the government. And I live right next to Balfour, right next to Bibi's house, and next to the president's house. There were riots here every Saturday night. The country was not united at all. The Jewish people, unfortunately, a lot of sinat chinam going on. Nowadays, it's something that I've never experienced in my lifetime. Doesn't matter if you're rightist, if you're a rightist, leftist. Doesn't matter if you're dati, if you're religious, if you're not religious. Doesn't matter if you're Sephardic, Ashkenazi. None of that matters nowadays. Everyone is one cohesive unit. Every single Jew has really come together. It doesn't matter if you're ultra Orthodox or nothing matters. Every single Jew has been, the videos I'm sure you guys have also seen of everyone just dancing together, singing Am Yisrael Chai. That's been the most beautiful part. And when I came out of Kfar Aza, having over 200 WhatsApps on my phone, conversations of people just checking up, and it's just Ainli Milim. Ainli Milim for this entire thing, from what happened on October 7th to the cohesiveness and the unity of the Jewish people today, and Am Yisrael really coming together. And all you guys know who you are. I'm looking at all your faces now, and all you guys know how you've been in touch with me and contributing to us to make sure that we have all the equipment that we need. And there is moral support as well. Look, it's not fun. It's honestly, it's scary as hell. Oftentimes, just the thought of going back near Gaza or potentially going into Gaza is Ainli Milim Gam Lizeh. I don't have words for that as well. But everyone feels like they have to be a part of this. And you guys, again, are just as much a part of this. And I can tell you that I don't even know how this is possible, but one of the reasons why the line was so long when I first got there on October 7th to my base was because 140% of our unit actually showed up. How is that possible? That I don't really understand to this day. But 140% showed up. And they say Sachakol in total, I believe 160% of Miluim, of reservists, showed up. So that just shows you who Am Yisrael is, the Jewish people, who we are as a nation. And we're strong. And, everyone always says Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai. It's true. And it doesn't matter who attacks us, who threatens us. We have each other. That's all that we do have. Israel is our only land. My Magad once told us something that it kind of bothered me, but I'll say it. It's a whatever. He basically said, we have Israel or we have the gas chambers, which, whatever, I don't know. know if I whatever. But the point is that this is our only land, and this is the land of the Jewish people, and we're all contributing and we're all doing our part. And now, please ask questions. Feel free to contribute or speak up.
Hey, feel free to, thank you so much, Yoel. If anyone wants to begin with the questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask at this time. Otherwise, I'll get things started by asking Yoel. Obviously, no one's a Navi and no one's a fortune teller. But where do you see things going from here? Where do you see, not in the long, maybe not, whether it's the short term or the long term, where do you see things developing?
I would say that right now, I remember in 2014, I was also in Suketan in the war in Gaza in 2014, and we didn't finish Hamas back then. And this time, Hamas took it way too far, and we have to finish them. I think about, Bezrat Hashem, my kids, and the last thing I want is for my kids to have to be fighting against Hamas or against Hezbollah. They tell us the army tells us that it's not a matter of unfortunately if, but it's a matter of when, in terms of when these different terrorist organizations are going to attack. And obviously, we hope it doesn't happen, especially with Hezbollah. But I mean, look, nothing's for sure. Everything always changes in the army. I hope that Hezbollah somehow just disappears. But Hamas, we know we have to get rid of. I know everyone always says, you can't get rid of the idea of Hamas. I know that, their head commanders are in Qatar. I have no doubt that the Mossad, together with the CIA, will take care of that. If they're not already doing it, then I'm sure they'll do it after the war. But one thing I know is that we have to finish off Hamas. We have to finish Gaza. I do feel for the Muslims that are innocent, as I know that most of the Muslims are against Hamas and against Hezbollah, and they just want to live their lives. And I feel for them. And as you guys know, the Israeli army is the most moral army, I believe, in the world, together with the American army. But we care about everyone. We care about our soldiers. We care about the civilians, and we do our best. And we have so many rules within when you're allowed to shoot, when you're not allowed to shoot, which often can cost a life. But it's so important for us to, number one, come out, Bari and Shalem, healthy and full, and, both mentally and physically. And number two, to come out and make sure not to harm any innocent civilians. But where do I see the war going? I'm not a Navi. I'm not Bibi Netanyahu, so I don't know. I hope it ends at some point soon, but it does seem like it could take some time.
Hi, Yoel. This is Ronen Zur. First of all, thank you for doing this for us. Just wondering where your unit stands as far as your equipment and if you have everything that you need.
Okay, so that's a difficult question to answer. Look, in the beginning, I didn't even think about it. When we went to Kfar Aza, again, I didn't even know what I was getting myself into. But we didn't have bulletproof vests. We didn't have proper helmets. My bag actually ripped. We all wear these tiklaus, they're called. And we have all our equipment inside because we're always in the move. We're khirnakim, we're infantry combat soldiers. We have to always have everything on with us. Like I explained, we moved the first week from the south. We were there all week. We moved up north for about a little over a month. And now we're back down south. So we're constantly on the move, and things get destroyed. And look, it's very difficult because Sahel is doing their best to supply everyone with the proper equipment that they need. Um, that being said, it is very difficult as we do have a lot of equipment that's missing. We just finally got enough bulletproof vests for everyone, thanks to everyone who contributed. Um, we're still missing the proper helmets. We're using helmets that are not in great condition. And we're working on getting bags too, as I'm already on my fourth bag. Um, but that being said, Sahel is doing their best. They were not expecting this. Nobody was expecting this. This is the most amount of reservists that have ever been called up in the history of Israel. I believe in the Yom Kippur War, 350,000 were called up, 400,000 were called up in this war. So nobody was prepared for this, and you can't blame Sahel for them not supplying us with all the right equipment. That being said, now that we're in line to go to Gaza, they did make sure that we have the bulletproof vests. Also, a lot of us were able to buy for our machlakot, for our units, thanks again to you guys. Yeah, we've been raising money for that. David can actually get on and take that. David, you want to explain that a bit?
Yeah, hi, buddy. I'm actually here in Israel right now, and this is many of you know Ariel as well. I sponsor his unit. We get them vests, we get them helmets, we get them boots, tactical gear, whatever they need. He's also part of the Tzamchanim, just like Yoel. And I actually took a trip out here. I got here on Thursday, and just to hand deliver the gear to the soldiers themselves, because a lot of stuff is getting lost in transport. I don't know what the situation is. So they're not getting everything that they need hands-on. So I basically took it upon myself to come out here, talk to the soldiers themselves. And I had the honor of meeting Yoel, who's a very unique and very special guy, and in a very situation that we're here to help him and his unit now. And we're going to adopt his unit. It's 90 people, 90 soldiers. And I'm about to outfit them all with new tactical gear, shirts, pants, boots if they need. We're going to try to get them some helmets also out here. We're basically, as a small group of us that are putting the funding together. It is very expensive for a lot of this stuff. Like the helmets cost like $1,600 each. The shirts, the special uniforms that they need. So when they go into these areas, they can actually withstand the terrain itself. And, it's waterproof. It's, you're getting ready to hit winter now. So it's actually starting to get very chilly here. And I'll be honest with you, it's been a life-changing experience for me to be here. I've gotten to talk to many, many soldiers as I am roaming around the streets, going into different areas. And, it's easy for us to all sit back in our cozy homes and say, I'm Israel Chai, and try to do, but once you get out here and you see what these guys are going, these men and women are going through, it's something that there's no words that can explain what, even like Yoel, newlywed, wants to go on his honeymoon, and he's being sent off to war, and Ariel is leaving his home, his family, his nephews, nieces, whatever, all the family members behind. And these guys are putting their life on the line for us, not just for Israel itself, but as a whole for the world. And we owe them everything. And whatever they're going to need in life right now at this point, I'm not even taking a salary anymore. I'm donating all my money that I can get together to make sure that these guys have everything they need to be as comfortable as possible to get the mission done. And I just want to see all of them come home, back to their families. And I want to thank all of you as well. I mean, some of you guys know me from the pizza shop, and just know that I'm still donating a huge portion of the sales and the profits every night to these guys. And thank you guys for the help. Some of you have been helping me out ever since then, try to put the funding together. And I want to tell you guys all thank you. Anything you guys can continue to help us get, I'm still made it a mission in my life, and I'm committed 140%, just like the soldiers, to getting these guys what they need. And if I have to run it back and forth myself in and out of Israel, this is something that I've committed my life to. My wife and my son are very committed as well. And they're, I can't be in the army because I'm too old. I have my own health issues. So I've reverted my mission into taking care of these guys. And a lot of you guys also know Ariel. You want to say hi to everybody?
Hi, everyone. My name Hollywood.
So just keep your prayers up, keep everything going, just keep everything moving forward. These guys are amazing. These men and women are just like I said before, there's just no words can describe, but we got to do our part from home, from our cozy little houses where, we're not worried about, bombs being dropped and sirens going off and all that. So you guys can all reach me. I'll be back on Wednesday. Bezrat Hashem. And I'm starting to outfit Yoel's group right now at this point. There are 90 soldiers in his unit. And I want to make sure we get them what they need as they're getting ready to go back into Gaza. And it's a mission that it's hopefully it'll be over quick. All the boys and girls will come home, and we'll be able to celebrate this war once and for all, and just be done with our terrorists and all the people that all the anti-Semitism around the world. But we have to stay united as a group of people, as a Jewish nation, and we have to be setting the future for future generations, for our kids, our grandkids, our great-grandkids, to make sure that they're safe. And thank you, Yoel, for having us out here tonight. I love you, bro. I met you the other day, and I feel like I've known you my whole life. I really do. We talked for like 2 hours just out of nowhere. You were just coming to pick up bags of gear from us. And we got into this in-depth conversation, and I really feel like I've known you my whole life. And I would give my life for you because I see what you're giving. You're giving your life for us. So I'm Israel Chai now and forever. And just remember these guys and pray for them all day and do what you guys can from home.
תפילות, חשוב. תפילות זה הכי חשוב.
Take care of these guys because they're taking care of us, and we love them, and we're not going to let them down, and they're not going to let us down. This is all of us. We are one. Like we said during COVID, we're all in this together, and we're not going to let anybody down because this is who we are. We're Am Israel. So thank you, Yoel, for having us here tonight. I really appreciate it, brother. It means the world to me.
If you could leave in the chat a contact number. I know you're coming back Wednesday, but if there's a good way to reach you, some people have reached out on the chat about ways to connect with you either now or upon your way back. So if you can put that in the chat, and I see,
Okay.
that'd be great. And Jillian, you had a question. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Yoel, and thank you, David Mizrahi and Ronen for outfitting the soldiers. And I wanted to know, Yoel, during this 4-day ceasefire, now were all the soldiers, were they able to go home? Because we have cousins and they take away the phones, and are they able to go home during this time? Or are they all still in Gaza and up north?
That's a great question. Some soldiers were able to go home. Some soldiers were not able to go home. It really depends on where you're stationed. They do try to make everything even between the soldiers, and there's rotations going around. That's the reason as to why we're supposed to go into Gaza next, is because they're rotating a different unit out. So they do their best to let everyone out as much as they possibly can. My unit was out for Shabbat just because we haven't gone in yet, and then this ceasefire did happen. And I saw a lot of Chayalim home this Shabbat, more than usual, a lot. So that was nice to see. But it depends. It depends on where you're stationed. It depends on where you are. There's Chayalim stationed literally everywhere now, all over the north, for Hezbollah, obviously in Gaza, all over Ayosh, Yehuda Vishomron, in the Jenin area, Shechem area, Gush Etzion, all of those areas, Binyamin. It's they need chayalim everywhere right now. So it's the yitziot, as they call it, when you go home, has been very difficult. Especially as a newlywed. I can tell you that it's very difficult, but I'm at the same time so proud to have this zchut to be able to serve Am Yisrael. And again, I can't say this enough. Whatever I do, and I tell this to my mom all the time, and I just happened to see Jacob Shames, Sandy Siller, Stephen Clements right there. I can't see all of you, but Jeff Simon, the amount that you guys have contributed to me personally and to my unit personally, you guys have done just as much as I have and my unit. So you guys should be super proud.
Yoel, it's Sandy. I have to tell you, nothing brightens my day more than when I get a WhatsApp voicemail from you or a chat or a PM. It really makes my day completely go from sad to extraordinarily happy. So to see your face on here is just unbelievable. There aren't enough words, like you say, en li milim, to thank you and everybody out there fighting for not just Israel, not for the release of the hostages, but for every single Jew worldwide and future generations. There truly are no words to thank you enough. It's just impossible. But to see you and to see you smile and to see your parents on here and Judy and PJ, just stay chazak. I know how it's easy for me to say. You've got Yoel and Zev in there. So I know I can't even imagine how difficult it is. But Judy, I look forward to our chats back and forth, and I miss you all, and I miss you dearly, and I love you all.
Thank you so much, Cindy. And I would say one piece of advice and one thing that we talk about a lot in the Army is keeping the morale up. It's super, super important. I know you guys see a lot of things in the news, and I know how difficult this is for everyone. But one thing that we always try to do, no matter what happens, is keep the morale up. And we have no choice. And we have to finish this mission, and we have to stay positive. And there's no other way to go about this.
These are tears of joy, Yoel, seeing you. They're not tears of sadness. They are tears of joy. I'm so happy to see you.
So it's just important to even during the hard times and the down times, to just stay positive. That's something that my parents taught me my whole life, and that's something that I try to do for my machlaka, for the soldiers that I'm with, and especially as one of the older ones, people can be just in terrible moods, wanting to go home. We're all Ezrachim, we're all civilians now. We finished our 2.5, 3 years of service. So we never thought this would happen again. I feel like I'm back in the regular Army. That being said, we all are here for each other. First of all, we're all here for each other as a whole, all the Jewish people, like I said, but also within the Army, everyone has each other's back. Everyone is there for one another mentally and physically. And one of the important things that I actually left out is after Kfar Aza, after all that we saw with our own eyes and witnessed, literally the most terrible thing that I ever saw in my life. We just spoke about it, and they encouraged us to just talk and talk and talk. And we went around. I remember the day after going around in a circle, and I'm with some guys. I'm like one of the skinnier ones now, and one of the smaller ones. I used to be like one of the big ones. And there's some big, like, macho guys that I'm with, and to see them cry and to see that the day after was tough. But it's important to talk, and it's important to keep the morale up. That's the number one most important thing. And to remember always, Am Yisrael Chai. And we will win this war, and this will eventually end, and we will come out stronger.
Thank you so much, Yoel. If there's any other questions, we can take them at this time. Otherwise, I'm going to thank you again, Yoel, for agreeing to this. You know, this is not what you signed up when you signed up for Miluim.
I hate public speaking, for the
You hate
record.
public speaking, but you're among friends and family, and we really appreciate it. The kesher that exists is strengthened and developed through your words. And anachnu itchem, we were with you, we are with you. And seeing your face and your story strengthens us and strengthens our resolve to hear you so chazak. And if you can pass that on to your the rest of your fellow soldiers, that would be very much appreciated. And like you said, there is no other choice, but there's a choice of how we go about doing it, and to do it with a sense of bitachon in each other, in Hashem, and in the mission of Am Yisrael is certainly something that we can do and we will do. And like you said, Am Yisrael Chai. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Love you. Yoel.
Thank you.
Yoel.
Thank
Yoel,
you.
Thank you, Yoel.
Thank you.
And we love you, Yoel.
Love you, Yoel.
Thank you.
Thank you, David.